All right, we'll go ahead and call the November 23rd, 2009 Public Safety Committee to order, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of last month.
So move to approve the minutes of last
Got a
month.
motion, to have a second?
Second.
And a second.
I did read.
All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. First on the agenda is the Rutherford Rescue Squad. Their chief couldn't be here tonight. I handed out their report. If y'all want to, we can wait till the end to take that up, if that's okay with y'all.
Okay.
We'll move to drug court. How you doing?
Not going to take a lot of time either. Good evening. Nothing too exciting to talk about. Of course, our numbers went down because of the graduation that we just had. And DUI will go down tomorrow night by 7. We're having 7 graduate tomorrow night at 4:30 in Judge Ash's courtroom. If you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you. That'll be a total of 9 that will have graduated from that program in a little less than 2 years. So that's good. That's a good start.
Anybody have any questions for Mary?
How does that differ from the drug court in terms of number of visits and all that sort of thing?
The program is a little bit different. We supervise them a little bit more carefully. When they first come into the program, they have to wear the SCRAM bracelet for the first 30 days. We actually hired a guy for the express purpose of doing home visits, but now he does home visits for drug court too, and he does all our male drug screens. But that was his original, it was originally a half-time position to do nothing but home visits. So we just check on them a little bit more thoroughly than we do the regular drug court people to make sure they're not driving and drinking and or have any alcohol in their home or anything like that.
Thank you. I think every once in a while it's worth restating for the public's benefit.
Right. And it is mostly alcohol that we're dealing with the DUI program and drugs with the drug court program. So.
You could consider them to be alcoholics?
Yes. They consider themselves to be alcoholics, yes. In fact, I guess we don't take them unless they fit the, no, not admit, but fit the criteria for dependence according to the DSM-4.
Mary, what's the success rate?
Well, that's hard to say with the DUI program yet because it's so new. We've had, I want to say 25 people enter the program. As of tomorrow night, we'll have 9 that have graduated, and we have had 3 that have been terminated and 1 that has absconded and we still haven't found. So whatever all those numbers mean.
When you look at level of education, you say most of them are high school graduates?
In the DUI program, yes. Most of them have jobs. They're a little bit more stable, have families. It's very interesting actually how much more mature they are than the drug court participants who tend to be a little bit younger. Most of them don't have jobs. Most of them don't have stable living conditions, don't have families. It's really a totally different population.
At the education level, you'd say?
Is higher with the DUI.
It's higher DUI, okay.
Higher with DUI.
I mean, you see a lot of high school dropouts going through the drug court?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's when we require them to get a GED. One of the guys that's graduating tomorrow night in the DUI court got his GED while he was in the program. But most of them already have all that.
Anybody else? If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay,
Mary.
thank you.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You just beat me to it. I was going to wish you the same.
All right, Will Tax Officer report. We'll move to later on. Bart could not make it tonight. And juvenile detention will be next. By the way, in case I forget, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. I don't want to leave anybody out.
Okay. I have two things tonight. I have the monthly report for October, which I don't believe that there's anything unusual in it, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you've got. We have 5 counties that we're currently waiting to receive monies from. Don't expect there to be any problems with any of those. We're just waiting on the mail to run. But if there's questions regarding the report, I'll be happy to answer them.
Anybody have any questions?
Roughly how long do the juveniles, what do I want to say, are housed in your facility? Is that a good way to put it?
We're short term. Our average length of stay is right about a week, give or take.
Okay.
I mean, we do have some that stay much longer, but then we have ones that stay for a night. So it averages about a week.
Okay. That's why I was wondering. I just noticed in October it said Rutherford County booked in was 74 and out of county was 20, which seems pretty low to me compared to what some of the other months were. And I thought maybe it was.
Well, we generally we have been running average of about 30 detainees per month. So far this year we're running a little low. So I don't know don't ask me what the reason is because I don't know. But
I guess it's because we're still growing as a county, right, with people.
Any more questions on the report?
What's your average length of stay? You may have it in here.
well, that's what we just talked about. That's running about a week.
Is it?
Mhm.
What about when those kids are in there that long, is there any counselors or anything that they have an opportunity to ever speak with?
Most of the kids are already involved in the court system in one form or another, and through the probation office or through services that they've received in prior court dates, they generally have services in the home.
Yeah.
As far as does juvenile detention have somebody that comes in to specifically talk with them?
Mm-hmm.
No, but the judge will occasionally make arrangements for the kids that they've been attempting to work out those arrangements for and can't, child won't stay in one place long enough when they are in detention. Sometimes that's an opportune time to get those services started.
Yeah.
Anybody else? See, got a motion, I need a motion for her report.
Motion approved.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. You got a budget amendment?
I do. This budget amendment is from within the juvenile detention center's original budget. So I'm not asking for any new money. I would just like to have permission to move some money around. I'm going to ask to take $3,877 from my in-service training line item to put money into our part-time personnel and the benefit money that goes along with that to take care of some extra part-time employees that we needed due to having unprecedented amount of people out for one reason or another. We took a good look at it before tonight's meeting, and the last time that we had a fully staffed building this year was April 20th of 2009, and since then we have had people out for surgeries and FMLA, and I've got the whole list. People resigning and getting pregnant, having babies. So we ended up hiring a young lady part-time because we knew we were going to have somebody leaving and wanted to go ahead and get her started and then move her into that full-time position when that particular employee left. But to do that and to continue to have my building staffed appropriately, I kind of had to use more part-time money than we currently had budgeted.
How many openings as far as vacancies? Not FMLA or not, but how many openings do you have as far as vacancies?
Right now, there aren't any openings. I still have people out, and we're wanting to hire a temporary person for an employee who isn't scheduled to return from FMLA, because we know that we've got another person that's most likely going to be hired by Smyrna. And so we're hoping that we can start this temporary person in the slot of the FMLA and then move them into a full-time position when this young man is hired by Smyrna, if that pans out.
The person that's on the family medical leave, are they still on either vacation or sick leave
No,
time?
I believe he's completely out of time.
So shouldn't that should help your salary line item then, shouldn't it?
Well, it does, but, and that's why this number isn't any larger than it is.
So it's already helped out on that. All right.
Motion to approve the budget request.
Second.
Motion and a second. All right, is there any discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing or saying none, call the roll.
Commissioner Black,
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel,
Yes.
Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Commissioner Pease, Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Get
you.
out of here early tonight.
OSHA report. I think you got that on your desk.
In the month of September, we had 19 injuries that required medical treatment. And for the year, that brings us a total of 213. Just to make note that the majority of the injuries that happened in the month of October were slip, trips, and falls. Same as what's going on for the year to date. We've had 73 slip, trips, and falls. Reason why I bring that to your attention, Tim Street, our training specialist, he's been reviewing that. Tim is developing some training for that and some training safety awareness, and be putting out shortly something on walking surfaces for slip, trips, and falls, things to be looking for, and trying to put some extra emphasis on that since we have been rating that high this year. As far as OSHA recordables for the year to date, we've had 141. Of those, 48 of them had restricted days, 34 of them had lost claim days, and then 59, of course, others. The next page you'll look at that, and you'll see where we, the graph, we are pretty much down from last year, this month last year, but 2 years ago we're about the same. We're up slightly this year as compared to last year. Last year this time we had 204 injuries. This year we're at 213. Of course, just to remind you a couple of things, we've been doing better trying to encourage reporting this year, and the employment stat numbers are up this year also.
Let's go back to the first page
Okay,
for a
sure.
second, please.
Certainly.
Under lost days claims, you've got number of lost days at 775.
Yes.
Okay, of that approximately, how many of them are due to falls and slips and trips? Would it be, is that, because that's the most recordables you get, but are those the ones that are causing the people to lose time, or is it one of the other ones that you would think would be a more serious event happen?
It's hard to say. We have, again, somebody has a slip or trip and they have a shoulder injury when they fall. They may actually do something at that point. We've got a couple with repetitive motion where the injury has required them to be out and had surgery on that, and so therefore they're not able to return until they've been released for the repetitive motion injury. The best I can remember right now, it's pretty much across the board. There are a few that is under the slip, trips, and fall for being out of work, but I couldn't contribute all of those 34 to that. I do recall that there's some where somebody had tripped over a bunk or an object, something like that, and required some injury and surgery for that. Tripping possibly in the course of their duties at school or at the sheriff's department or something like that, that caused some injuries that required some surgeries and things. But there's also some pulling and pushing injuries, strains like that, that are in that also. Just to kind of tell you where we are, the dollars incurred for this month, net incurred, is $15,425 for those 19 injuries at this point. The breakdown of those injuries for the county, there's been a total of 4. And then in the at the Board of Education, that's the other remaining 15. And that's where we did have quite a few of the slip, trips, and falls. And that's why we're looking at what we can do to help reduce some of that through training and awareness. And that's what Tim's working on for that surface walking information.
Anybody any questions for Dan?
I would like to just add, I sent out an email today, and Tim and I are working on some things. We want to caution everybody to have some awareness over the holidays. A lot of people are distracted at this time of year with what's going on at home and other things, and so when they get into the workplace, they're not dedicating their 100% of their thought to what's going on. And we do see in the month of December, if you just look at the graph, you'll notice that there are spikes in the month of December that happen from injuries, and we just want to caution everybody to take a few extra minutes to think about what's going on, look at what you're doing before you just proceed through the day and things like that, because we really want to concentrate on trying to reduce the injuries for the month of December and then the holidays that's been out there. So just to ask everybody to talk up safety for the next month.
Got any questions? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Have a motion, can I have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ambulance service. How you doing tonight, Mike? I'm good. How are you? Any better? I couldn't stand it. Thank you. Okay. Go right ahead.
We made 1,677 calls, average response time 7.4 minutes. We had 12 coroner's calls. Billed 988,878, collected 416,399. It puts us on a projected yearly collections of $5,265,000. We had $351,087 in insurance write-offs and $68,515 collection agency write-offs and $2,261 for inmates and so forth, workers' comp, those kind of things. We had a few station shutdowns this month, not very many. Operating costs at the bottom of the page on this table there.
Excuse me just a minute, Mike.
Okay.
So we had Burton shut down 2 shifts?
No, that's .2.
.2, oh. So that means,
Intense of
come
a
on, show me.
shift.
.2, what do you mean by .2?
It was
Hour and a
about
half.
4 hours,
About 4 hours, okay. And then .5, half a shift?
12 hours.
Okay, all right.
We had actually 3 ambulances that broke down. 2 of them responded to a call, and 1 of them with a patient in the back. The total number of calls that were responded to out of zone is 352. As you can see, all of our teams are quite busy this month. Not anything unusual for this time of the year, but they're all pretty busy. One of the things that I don't think is on here is we have administered the H1N1 flu shots to all of the public safety agencies in the county, I believe. I think we've got them all now. Some of them are still filtering in that were off or missed it for a day or two, but for the majority, I think we have the majority of them. On the following page is the breakdown for each individual ambulance station, number of calls and average response time. Transport team had 98 calls this month. Following page is the number of ambulance calls broken down by commissioner district. And there's a little table over there that provides the beginning of where the transport team went to respond to their calls. 19 to Middle Tennessee Medical Center, 10 to Stonecrest, and 2 to VA. Next page is same information on Commissioner's District except for the year. We used had FMLA sick hours of 972 hours, regular sick hours 341 hours, and regular vacation 1,931 hours.
It seems those numbers are up from last month. Are they? And I'm going off memory, which I probably
I think
should.
they're about the same.
Are they?
They so far they've tended to stay relatively close.
I mean, I guess the reason I bring that up is because of going back to the number of shutdowns, stations, I just thought it might be up.
Actually, what gets the station shut down is somebody calling in sick at the last minute.
Okay.
Then we have to jump through a lot of hoops to get it filled. Then we have several thank you notes.
Well, you haven't been routinely reporting these denied vacation requests, have you, Mike?
That was.
This looks like the first time I've seen
Yeah,
one
that is the
anyway.
first time, and I'm not sure of the validity, so I really don't want to comment too much on that
Oh,
because
okay.
occasionally we'll deny requests just because the request didn't get there on time and we didn't have time to do it. So.
Like the units that broke down, what was the mileage on those, do you know?
I don't remember. I think I can tell you. Our fleet is getting a lot of miles on it.
Remember what the issue was?
Most of the time it's brakes.
Brakes?
61,683 on one of them and 44,821 on the other one. I don't have the other one.
I always like to see the appreciation letters about when the employee goes out and provides good customer service. Does anybody have any questions for Mike?
What's the prescription take-back event?
The Sheriff's Department and the Murfreesboro Police Department has been organizing occasions so that people can bring old prescriptions that they might have at home so that they don't inadvertently get out on the street. Has been very successful so far. And then the sheriff just destroys it. I think they'll burn it then. Once you incinerate those drugs that we collect them.
Not sure if it was did.
It's a big deal. We had to get permission from FDA and all those people.
Well, I was just wondering, that certificate's kind of interesting. If you don't know what a prescription take-back event.
I think I read something somewhere that we doing it down in Smyrna as well. Smyrna PD.
Good deal.
All right, anybody got any questions on Mike's report?
Mike, just following up with what Gary was just saying, do you want to elaborate on this Scott Brown and what this letter's about?
I just thought it was a above and beyond the call of duty. This happens pretty frequently, and we actually have an award that we give for above and beyond. And I was sent that email by Jenny King, who nominated Scott for that award.
And Scott's an exemplary employee over. I think this just tells a lot about him. Even when he don't get these kind of recognitions, he does this every day. I've seen him along with other paramedics over there.
We'll wait till after we did the motion. I just want to say about EMS. Saturday night I had to work, and we had which has turned out now to be a fatal accident out on Rock Springs Road in Smyrna, but EMS, they went above and beyond that night, and all those guys out there. Like I said, I don't work very many nights, but I was working that night and responded out there. I actually drove the ambulance to the life flight site, but there was a young man, 17 years old, and they worked hard continuously on him. He had some bad injuries, and he ended up succumbing to those injuries, but it wasn't because these guys didn't try. I thank you guys for what they did that night. It was tough.
Anybody else? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I think we got a budget amendment.
This is the same type of amendment I bring almost every month. This has to do with us receiving money for doing event standbys. And we asked to put that money back into the accounts where we spent the money to be able to do that.
I see where we paid you $1,977 for class.
The question, why you're putting money into your overtime account, right? So why are you taking it out of there to put it into the travel account instead of just taking it from charges for services? Is it a reason, or is it just the way you happen to do it? You see what
We sent some people to a class that involves some travel, and we had to pay for that travel. So.
Okay. Good. Okay. I was just wondering why it came out of over.
We just try to take it out of where we put it back into. It doesn't all come out of it.
Okay.
Y'all have heard the request. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
And a second. Discussion. Hearing or seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Black?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yeah.
Commissioner Sparks?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm assuming the correctional work center, is this what?
She just dropped it off, she gave it to you.
We'll carry on after here in just a minute then. Sheriff Department.
We only have one thing tonight, and I have Officer John Levi, with our horse patrol, and we had an unfortunate incident at the Riverdale Oakland game Friday night, one of the championship games, and I'm going to let John tell you basically what happened, and we have a film to show you. Unfortunately, the film was a little late. Channel 5 was good enough to let us have this film, and their people were there doing the ball game, and then they saw what was happening, and then they diverted their camera back to where all the commotion was, away from the game. And basically, I was told by the people from Channel 5 that this was textbook law enforcement as it deals with crowd control, and especially when you have a horse patrol. And I have seen the film and heard all the things that have gone on. I got a letter from the principal at Riverdale today really acknowledging all the wonderful things that they did. And no one was injured. And it very well, we could have had some major problems because we had gotten some word that there was going to be a person was bringing a gun there. They identified, the information originally came from Murfreesboro Police Department, and it was an individual that we were aware of frequently, and some of the others. And I'm not going to bring all of that into it, but as the officers went to get the individual after he had slugged one of the guys he was after, then our officers came in to take care of it. All of a sudden, there was just a huge throng of people came in right on top of where our officers were, and it put them in imminent danger. And if it hadn't been for John Levi and Kerry Nelson with their horses, a number of our officers would have gotten hurt. There's no doubt in my mind, and a lot of the other people around there. So they saved the day for us. And I'm going to let, we'll play the film, and I'm going to let John explain to you exactly what happened. Yeah.
Down in the bottom. Right. The little,
I wish
the
we
little
had
button
the
on the
original
right.
happening.
Just right.
It was a lot more
Keep going.
intense.
Keep going. There. That's the one he said.
You can see they've already walled off all the people. Mm-hmm. At one time, they were all just right on top of the officers.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Rutherford County students, or was it someone else?
No.
It wasn't?
No, sir.
Is he juvenile?
No, sir.
He
Nothing to do with the game. It was just totally separate.
No, he was 18. I mean,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But he was there.
Mm-hmm.
That was the subject, supposedly with the weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what Sheriff said exactly what happened. All that, we had a bolo with a subject with a weapon. When we went back up to, if any of y'all have ever been to a Riverdale game where the concession stand is, where the hill is, that's where the subject supposedly was supposed to be at. As we were making our way up there with some other officers to identify him, the subject one of the subjects found him and hit him. And then the fight was on. So we had 3 or 4 officers that tackled to stop the fight, to try to stop that. And when they did, approximately, I say easily 500 people were on top of about 3 or 4 officers within a blink of an eye. We had officers that were getting hit by people. At that point, we were probably 20 feet away on our way to them. We went through the crowd, separated the officers from the crowd. That's the horse's job at that point, is to protect the officers. Within probably 15 seconds, we probably had a 20 to 30 foot radius around our officers. And then that's probably 30, 45 seconds into the video, we had a 65 to 70 foot radius around the officer, and all we did was just patrol around them as they took care of what's on the ground. Like I said, we didn't know what about any weapons. We had no clue at that time of what was going on. There's so many people around. It was a very, very sticky situation. I didn't know what was in the crowd at that time.
When he was apprehended, did he have a weapon?
No, sir, he did not have a weapon. I have been later told today by a subject that was there, whose son was there, worked for the Sheriff's Department, that he actually heard somebody say, "Go get the gun." Now, that's, at that time, I don't know, we don't know. Who knows what was in the crowd? I just know that when we went in the crowd, we had officers that had people on their backs, and we went in and separated them. And then when they had them handcuffed, you saw them lead them out there. At that point, there's probably 500 people on top of the officers as they were trying to apprehend and stop the fight and to place them under arrest. When they were trying to take them out of the crowd, which is another sticky situation, you don't know who's coming through the crowd to avenge whatever could have happened. We put them behind the horses, put all the officers, you could barely see it on video, put them behind the horses, and we just parted the sea again and took them out to the cars. I will say it was textbook as far as everything I've trained and have trained people through the academy on the horses. It was great. They did an excellent job. The horses did. The officers on the ground did an excellent job. It was almost like we'd rehearsed it 1,000 times. Everything went perfect. It was very, very, went very well.
That's good to know and good to see that, that in the Sheriff's Department and the Murfreesboro Police Department be commended for the job that y'all did out there, and there's no telling whose lives, it's not only police officers, but citizens. Lives that could have been saved out there that night.
There's a lot of kids, a lot of innocent people, families watching the game on the hill, sitting on blankets, watching the game that were there. Yes, there was quite a few people that it could have gotten, I hate, nothing against officers, but they had no control over it on the ground. There's just nothing. You could have had 10 officers on the ground and you didn't have control. They were outnumbered easily 20, 30 to 1. So,
I heard that there was about 12,000 people there that night.
Probably at the game, I would say realistically 12 to 14 maybe at the game. But right around that concession stand, that's where we were posted up at with the horses. Like I said, we stood there 90% of the game. Nothing happened. Everything was fine. Then we get to Bolo, and then all the officers, your awareness is heightened. Something's going on. And the history with the people that were involved, we knew the history. We all know them. And it could have gotten ugly, and we knew that. It just wasn't somebody making false accusations.
Like you said, 90% of the time you're not doing those type of things, but it's that 10% of the time when someone may need you to protect their back and their lives. And
well, that's these horses are great PR tools. They are probably the best PR tool that any law enforcement agency can have. But in reality, they are probably one of the best law enforcement tools also for what they do and what they bring to a department. They're the best form of intimidation without physical contact. I was telling one of the officers called me afterwards and was thanking us for what happened, and I said, that's what they're for. We didn't have to touch anybody. We didn't get any phone calls of anybody getting hurt. Nobody could complain that we roughed them up, nothing. We did our job and never laid a hand on anybody. We didn't pepper spray a soul. We never touched anybody, but our officers did their job on the ground superbly, and the horses did their job, and everybody went home. And the only people that were touched were the 3 people that went to jail, and they needed to be taken to jail, and everybody else was safe, and that's what they're for. That's what those animals are for. And it's great. Then they went 15 minutes after it was over. They went right back to our post and had kids coming right back up, petting them and talking to us, and we went right back to the nice little furry animals that everybody likes to pet. But at the end of the time, you can see they do their job. That's what they're there for.
And we had, I've had a number of people that were at the game that called him to compliment how they handled the situation. And one of the things that they did comment on was the cooperation between the Murfreesboro Police Department and the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department working together, making it a whole lot safer for everybody. And I can't say enough about all the law enforcement officers in Rutherford County.
I have to agree 100% because anytime any public safety entity, whether it be police, fire, EMS, across the whole county, whether it be municipality or county or whatever, there's always been a good working relationship between each and every one, across this whole county, and it shows right there.
And one of the things that you see right there in front of everybody for the whole world to see, they're out there protecting the people at the least amount of force. You know, we could have gone, if we'd have brought a number of law enforcement officers in from Smyrna and other areas, a lot of people would have gotten hurt in that kind of situation. But you take those horses out there, it just automatically just parts everything and calms it down.
The officer on the ground did make the statement to me after it was over. He said, I didn't know what I was going to do. He said they were on top of me. He said the only thing I knew to do was start pepper spraying everybody. He said that, and you go, that's all you can do. And so that, you know, that, like Sheriff said, that's what they're for. You know, best form of intimidation without physical contact. We intimidated everybody, got everybody back, never had to touch a soul, and that's what they're for. And you know, it makes you proud, you know, to see them work like that.
How many officers were actually down? I mean, and basically,
at the time that we went into the crowd, the part that you don't see is us actually getting to the officers. It was realistically probably 30 people deep for us to get to the officers. What you see here is probably 10 to 15 seconds after we get into the crowd. Once we get in, of course, it didn't take us a second and a half or 2 seconds to get into the crowd. Once we get into the crowd, we just started shoving everybody away from the officers. And there was probably, I think, 3, maybe 4 on the ground. And like I said, there was 500 on top of it. I mean, you could not have gotten through there on foot. There's no way. I mean, you could have, but you'd have been fighting people, you'd have been hitting people, you'd have been pepper spraying. It would have been a good 3-minute fight to get in there on foot. So I think there was 3 to 4 officers on the ground, and then once we went in there with horses, then by that time it was cleared out. Then that's when we had more reinforcements there to help them apprehend them on the ground. So,
well, when you started in, did you yell at them or anything? Let them know you're coming.
The funny story about that is last year we carried whistles. Last year we had another altercation break out at a high school game, and we were trying to get to it and blowing the whistle and everything, and the game stopped. And the guy was making a around the end sweep, and the running back just stopped, and I didn't think nothing of it. And I'm hearing on the radio, "Who's got that whistle? Who's got?" And I'm getting people out of the way, and then I look out there, and I'm like, "Oh no!" And it was I just tucked my whistle in my pocket, and I don't know who's got the whistle. So we don't carry whistles at the ball game anymore because that didn't work very well. We had to come up with Plan B. So yes, sir, you can see us hollering at the time, you know, just get out of the way.
I was just curious how you let them know you're coming.
Just voice command. Verbal command is all we can do.
They'll know a horse is coming.
Yeah, they do. Well, if we're out on the street, we do carry whistles to get out of the way. But at the ball game, that didn't work too well, so we went to Plan B. So it's just verbal commands. They get out of the way, and just a lot of hollering and taking their head and pushing through the crowd. You know, just actually physically pushing through the crowd. You know, and that's what they're trained to do. So. But verbal command is how we got through the crowd, and then once we're into the crowd, then pretty much the work's done. I mean, they do the work.
I would much rather be viewing this video on this situation that I had when something tragic was to happen, as far as a citizen get hurt or killed, or a police officer get hurt or killed.
It could have got ugly. I like to think that the horses stopped it from getting ugly, but you know what? Officers on the ground did just as much as we did. So you know, they took care of their deal, and we took care of ours. We, you know, city and county, like I said, we worked together. Everybody did their job. It's what we're supposed to do. So.
And John is very good at it. Just like he said, he does a lot of training for other agencies, and as far as I'm concerned, he's the best there is at what he does.
Were of the 3 individuals that were apprehended,
yes,
were they all adults?
Yes, sir. I believe so. The gentleman that you saw, one on there was not with that situation. He was told not to be on school property from a previous event. So the one that you got the close-up of being handcuffed had nothing really to do with that situation. He was just kind of mouthing at all of us. It was not too bright, and was found out to be, hey, you're not even supposed to be on this property. So he got arrested for trespassing.
So he's not the one that slugged somebody to get it going.
So you don't see him on the video. No, you barely see him. If you look real close, you can see just the top of him, but you don't see him.
So were any of the ones then associated with either of the schools?
No, sir. Okay. No, sir. It had nothing to do with the schools whatsoever. The school, all the students were behaved. We didn't have any problems with any school children. You know, yes, some were in that crowd, but the two people that actually started the altercation, no, sir, they were both out of school. One was an older gentleman, and one was probably, I think, 18 or 19. And so, no, they did not. They were not associated at all with Oakland or Riverdale.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know.
Yes, that was good.
This, I guess, horse division of the sheriff department, it's utilized pretty good around holidays too, also.
It is.
We're going to start starting Friday morning about probably 4 o'clock in the morning. We'll be out. We've already been requested by the Avenue, by the Target, both in Smyrna and Laverne. We'll be there. 2 years ago, a big melee broke out at Target about 5 in the morning. It looked like a Springer show. It was amazing. You know, trying to get in, and shoes were flying. It was great. So
Also, I think y'all recovered somebody lost at Torch Barfield last year.
Yes, sir. We use a lot of search and rescue. We do a lot of search and rescue. The gentleman out John Bragg Highway that was lost a little while ago, we searched for several long hours. We searched for him. So we use the horses quite a bit for that. We also patrol the horse trails out in Walter Hill, the core property, because it used to be kind of rough out there, as you know. A lot of shooting and drinking.
Absolutely.
And I've been told by a lot of people that family members wouldn't go out there, but we go out there and we patrol it and try to keep everybody out, and so everybody can use it. It's for everybody. So we do a lot with them.
I think it's a great tool.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
We almost lost one of our twos in that Barfield.
Barfield, yes, sir.
John, yeah, he ended up in a hole.
I know. That's
right.
With the horse on top.
Well, that was the horse that was on top of him. I broke his fall. I took care of him.
Kept him in shape.
That's right. I took care of him. So he rides me for a while, and I ride him for a while. So, but they're a great tool. I take a lot of pride in them, and I appreciate, Sheriff letting me, take it and go with it, and I appreciate y'all helping us out. And it's a good tool. It really is, and the community enjoys it, and it just gets better every day. And I hate that it takes something like this, but sometimes it takes something like that for even officers to realize exactly what they're for. We had a lady come up to us and say, you know what, I've never realized what the horses were for. I thought they were just, a PR tool. And she said, until now. She was in the stands and said, she's a prominent realtor in the town, and she said, I'm amazed. She said, I understand now what they do. She said, I have a whole new light for what they do. They're not just a big furry animal to pet. They have a job, and that's the truth.
There are two.
Sure, they are.
They're basically just like another police officer.
Well, they are. They are certified through the state. All my horses, that once they're trained, I'm a post instructor for the academy. They are certified through the state of Tennessee as officers. So yes, sir, they are certified. So they are just like a canine. So they have to be certified, and but that's what I like to hear is people to actually really see what they're for. That I like that, because the horses, any department, they deserve it. Here, Metro, Louisiana, anywhere, wherever they're used, they're a good tool.
So you're going to put in to get a free ride with the horses to Merrillville on this Friday?
I don't know about that. We go. It'll be a long haul, but we'll go if they need us. We'll go. It'll be good luck for them.
Yeah.
Good luck. But we work quite a few of the high school games. Try to hit all the big ones in the county. Just for that reason. 99.9% of the time, nothing happens. We're just there. But just take one. Just take one.
Anybody else have anything for the sheriff or John?
Just like to commend the Levi officer, Levi, and sheriff department for having this tool in their toolbox to
Thanks, sir.
take care of the good citizens of Rutherford County.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate what you do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here, let me ask Sheriff real quick. Sheriff, when you see, you got about 750 inmates right now, 800 in jail.
Yeah, it's in the 700 category.
When you look back 20 years ago, and you see the problems that we're seeing today with juveniles like this, or even adults, where do you see us in 20 years?
Let's hope it doesn't go down as much as it has in the last 2 years. But I tell you what, we're very fortunate, Mike, in this county. The leadership in this county, the officers, the teachers, and the principals, and Harry, I mean, it's a tough job for everybody right now. And everybody's using every resource they can to make things better.
Yes, sir.
And this is one community that I feel like that's up to the task. A lot of them have seemed to just crumbled under it, but you can't ignore the problems as they occur. You've got to attack them right then. If you're in the business of dealing with these kind of things, you cannot sweep it under the rug. You just can't do it. You got to deal with it. And there's a lot of pressure put on states and counties and cities right now that I feel like that is undue pressure, especially when it deals with the education system. I mean, you have to be a magician to be able to tackle some of the goals that they're requiring you to do now, and it's based on things that are unrealistic, and that's a lot of the problem that we're having right now. It's very difficult for everybody, but we're going to keep plugging along, and I think that this community has always been able to prosper under difficult times, and I think it's going to continue to do, and we'll get better.
Yes, sir.
But that doesn't mean that we're not going to have some bad times ahead of us, but we're going to take care of it. But I know where you're coming from. We see it every day.
Yeah, it just seems like and I hate to sound like a pessimist, try to keep an optimistic attitude to things. It just seems like, you're looking at costs growing exponentially. I mean, you need help over there, and county's under tight budget constraints, and I mean, it worries me where I'm going to be, if I'm in this position or another position of just Joe Q Public having to pay tax dollars where things are going to be. It just when I look back when I was 18, 20, and 21, I didn't see, it didn't seem like there was the problems at that age that I see today. And it just seems like you pick up the paper, there's a shooting on State Street, there's something in Laverne happening, there's something in Smyrna happening, whether it's gang activity or what. And, it just bothers me when I continue to see the same old problems. I don't know. And I see you get some criticism. I see some things in the paper get criticism. But then I also look back and think, well, what else can churches do to be involved? What else can these other groups do to be involved? Rather than just sit back and criticize, what can they do to step up to the plate to bring some remedies, to some solutions? I mean, we seen a nice letter here about a guy going beyond the call of duty. You don't hear this in the press. I mean, you only hear the negative things. And I know positive things don't sell newspapers.
Yeah.
I wish things like this
Reality
gentleman stepping up.
doesn't sell newspapers either.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the problem, because when we were, as you know, when we were growing up and coming through, news was news.
Yes,
It wasn't out to make things the way that you want them to be. I mean, news was news, and we all believed what we read and believed in our leaders, and it was just a different time than what we're having to deal with right now. But we'll get through it, and things will get better. This is a quality area. I don't care what anybody says. You can't find a better place in the whole world to live than Rutherford County. We are very fortunate here.
I agree.
People busting into things to move here every day.
Mm-hmm.
We see that in the schools.
Yeah.
But we can't have the growth like we've had and not have problems go along with it.
No.
Oh, yeah.
And I just don't want to see Rutherford County become an apartment complex where we have Antioch. And Antioch, if you remember when I was a kid, that was the place to be, and look at it now. And we're throwing apartments on top of each other. It's just affecting our schools, and we're getting people like this come through because that's what comes with them.
Well, only flip side of that is when you got announcements like Nissan, 1,700 jobs, and they're talking about up to 12,000 jobs that would be auto-related from that announcement. You got to have homes for people. People, if they can't afford to get a mortgage, they're going to move into an apartment. If there's no demand, people aren't going to build. So, it's just a constant battle, whether it's apartments or homes or what. And I'm going to tell you, I sit on Smyrna Planning Committee. There's not a lot of growth coming through Smyrna. And this announcement with Nissan was great news. This announcement with 457 jobs at the VA call center is good news, but with that comes people that they gotta find a roof over their head.
See if you got anything else.
I enjoyed it, guys.
Appreciate y'all coming.
Glad to have
Thank
John
you.
here.
Thank
It's
you.
always
Thank
good to
you.
bring
Yes,
good
sir.
things.
Appreciate what you
Thank you
do.
very much.
Good job, man.
All right. Emergency Management Agency.
I already handed out my report. There's not a whole lot in it, but there's a couple of things. One main thing I want to bring to your attention, and that is, I had a meeting with forestry up on Tiger Hill on 11/4, and we have been working with the Communication Advisory Committee and all about getting a long-term lease to part of the Tiger Hill site so that we could put up a new radio tower and building there, which would be the hub of our communications as we're working towards improving the overall public safety communications, which would include the volunteer fire departments, EMS, law enforcement, EMA. And everything looks promising at this point, and we're hoping to know in December whether or not that's going to take place, that they're going to grant that long-term lease for that portion of the property. Not all of the Tiger Hill, just a small little area where the fire tower is.
Okay, so that'd be with the state.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You got a repeater in the forestry building. I gave permission for one anyway.
I'm just saying, I know, we don't have a repeater.
The other thing I'd like to bring your attention to is we have been doing an awful lot of training, a lot of classes going, taking a lot of the time, 300 and 400 classes, doing Fermi 1 and 2 classes for the volunteers as well as others, which is operational level of hazardous materials. And we're moving forward with our LEPC meetings. I think it's working out great, and we're going to do great advances in that. Next, I have the consolidated water report, fire report. And I'd like to mention a few things on Larry Farley, on the things he's been doing. He's been teaching a lot of classes. He's not here tonight because they're having the final class on the rookie school that he's been working with, and they're receiving their certificates tonight. He's also challenged the state certification test for fire instructor, and we're waiting diligently to get the results of that. We believe he's going to pass that with flying colors, and I could not be happier with the work he's doing. He has really come a long way in developing training and doing training and putting on training for our volunteers and for other firefighters as well. And the last page has the planned or scheduled training of additional training that we put on. And in November, we have the SCBA operations training, kind of a refresher for people, primarily for newcomers into the volunteer fire world, on how to properly don and doff SCBA. And right now, to date, we have 6 people signed up for it. Of course, that class hasn't happened yet. It's this coming weekend. It's Saturday, I think.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Roger?
Move to approve.
Got a motion, got a second.
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, and I hope you all have a good Thanksgiving.
You too. Pause.
This is our October report. As far as our intake in October, we were about 200 animals fewer than we've been the last few months, so that's a good thing.
That's what I say, that's a good thing, isn't it?
That's a good thing. If you notice in that next section down below, that also brings down the number of animals euthanized. Adoptions were up over the past couple months. And the adoption reclaim rate is higher than it has been. I think we're at about 21 adoption reclaim, 21% previous months. So that also has come up. There's nothing unusual in the report. Next page has the number of calls received and completed and a breakdown of where those calls originated from on mileage. And then we have the fiscal to date, which our total intake since July 1 is at 3,496 animals. And a breakdown of where those animals are coming in from. Adoption rate is right around 19% on adoption, 6% on reclaim, so about a 25%. Good on that. The number of activities, calls received is just over 6,000 so far through October. And breakdown of where those calls are coming in from. Rabies exposure and bite in October, we had 2 positives, and those were skunks from the Las Casas area that had been attacked by someone's dog and killed. They both tested positive. That's out of the 2 out of the 8 that we had reported in the month. Brings our total positive rabies to 10 for 2009. And the last 3 pages are just some comparison graphs.
Got a question. Why is it that we start off high in July, and then we go December, January, February, we start going down intake wise, and then it shoots up?
I think a lot of that is, fewer animals running at large, more people keeping them in during the winter months. They're not out roaming. We don't have all the females in the season that are attracting male animals. And people are indoors a lot more, so you don't have as many calls in regards to these animals being out, kids out playing with the animals and everything. It seems to be a trend every year. On our intake, a lot of times you don't have as many litters in the winter months. Winter months, it's more of a spring, summer type thing, which increases the volume coming into the shelter. You'll notice the same type thing with the activities. If you look at, you always have a decline right around December, starting in October, and it declines down through December, and then you start seeing a climb, a little bit of a drop up until we hit spring. And then it's pretty steady through spring and summer.
Anybody have any questions?
Tracy, 8,536 visitors since July. That's a
A
pretty
lot
good
of
number.
people come through.
Yeah. You don't remember what the old center, you don't remember what that number would have roughly is.
I don't even know that it was tracked at the old facility.
Yeah.
And I know it was nowhere near those numbers. There just wasn't enough space for people to come through.
Or not even half, was it?
No, this facility is about, I want to say about 5 times larger than the old facility as far as the areas that the public was actually able to get into.
They
our
done well
adoption
for them.
areas.
They done well for the employees didn't get in there.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it wasn't a place, it was more difficult for people to find, so we didn't have a lot of people coming just to come through and look at the animals and what might be available for adoption.
Any more questions? You entertain a motion to report.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second, and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Did you have a chance to, I know we had talked about
The goats.
we're gonna do some extra patrol out in the,
Yes, We were out there, we've been out there several times, did catch some of those animals loose. I believe that the people in that area are gonna notice a large decrease in the number of animals. That owner has agreed to get rid of almost all of the animals that they had on that property. So the officer's working with them and making sure that they do stick to that agreement. Getting citations were issued for running at large. And it was not just that one household, it was also another household where some animals were also reported.
I know that's not my commission district, but the lady was a friend of mine, and I know she will appreciate what y'all done.
Hopefully she's noticing some improvement out there and will notice a reduction in the noise and everything coming from that property as well.
Sounds good, appreciate
Any
that.
unusual animals?
Well, let's see, what do you consider unusual?
Well, not your domesticated farm
We
animals.
currently have a pot-bellied pig at our facility. We also have a baby turkey currently that when we came in, we weren't sure if it was a chicken or a turkey, but we believe now it's a turkey. It's gotten a little large to be a young chicken, but that's probably the only things that aren't the normal cat and dog right now that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mayor, you want to come on up? I think you're doing the payment of the mental health evaluation treatment services
Yes,
for
sir.
criminal defendants charging for misdemeanors only.
That's right. Our state legislative body passed a law, new legislation last session that makes the county responsible for these mental health evaluations if our judges order those. And the rate, unless we enter into this rate setting agreement with them, the rate would be somewhere between $706 and $1,313 per evaluation. In any event, I guess they've sort of done this as to lessen the blow a little bit. If we execute this agreement that they prepared, it'll be $450 for these evaluations. And I should have brought this even to you last month, but I sort of overlooked it. So we just need for you to approve the execution of this contract with the state of Tennessee to do these mental health evaluations and allow the mayor to execute this agreement.
Who was paying for it before? The state?
State was paying all of it.
Okay, so basically they've handed it
They
down.
pushed down some more
Unfunded mandates.
unfunded mandate. Yes, sir, that's what it is.
How many of these are done a year?
Well,
From our standpoint, I assume these just cover our county, right?
that's just our county. Well, yeah. It's not as many as we had thought. The judges have told me since this came out, they were a bit really concerned about this initially, thought it was going to be substantial, but they said, I don't know whether they quit ordering as many as they were, but it hasn't been very many in recent weeks since we found out about this process.
20 a month or?
No, it's not near that much.
Okay.
No. A handful, single digits per month, I would think.
What kind of judges does these come from?
General
Circuit?
sessions,
General
primarily general sessions,
Okay.
misdemeanors.
Does this go to budget?
Who does the
Needs
exams?
to go on through budget too.
Who
Sir?
does the exams?
Well, they have mental health facilities the state do, or that you send them to. I don't know which, it's not here. It's
Yeah, okay, but it's the state doing them,
right,
and yet they're charging us back.
right.
They pick the doctor at a higher rate and turn
Yeah.
around and say, by the way, can you pay the bill?
Are they getting kickbacks?
Like admissions, you know.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions for the mayor on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to authorize the mayor to sign the document for
Second.
that purpose stated therein.
Second.
Well, I've got your motion as approving execution of the contract with the state, allowing the mayor to sign and forwarding to the budget committee.
That's fine.
I think, is that what you said? there?
Exactly, perfect.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Okay. Discussion. Hearing none, I get,
It's just a
all right.
contract with your information.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried. You got anything else, Mayor?
Might be a chance in 2 weeks on it.
If you would, go back to the Rutherford Rescue Squad. And like I said, their chief could not be here tonight. He had to work tonight. And we'll read over that. And if you have any questions, I can't answer them for you. He said that really there was nothing, a whole lot to, going on. someone gets through looking that over, I'll take a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve it.
Is there a motion and a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. Bart Smith could not be here tonight as well. There's there's nothing that really jumped out at you.
Yeah,
Um,
getting a lot less money than last year.
Has he said why, Gary?
No.
It's a decrease on each one.
I mean, a lot of it's because
You
of
can see the
there's no
titles
car
on the new
sales, there's no,
cars.
so there's not any transfers, there's not any wheel tax being bought.
Seems
Normal.
like there'd be more cars on the road than it would, I would expect.
Some more people moving in. The wheel taxes seemed like it would still be up like last year, because the people that, if they're not getting a new car, they still have an existing car. They must be maybe not driving as many different vehicles.
Going outside the county.
Or
Driving illegally.
When you get through looking over that, I'll entertain a motion for it.
we were on the wrong side last month, yeah.
Motion approved.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed, motion is carried. Next is the Correctional Work Center. I hadn't talked to him, I don't know on this one here, but, read over it and we get through looking over it, I'll entertain a motion on it. Is there a motion? Is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Yeah, I haven't read it all yet.
Okay. Well, I'll hold off on the vote then.
I'd appreciate it.
There's two positions that'll be posted, Mayor.
They have been posted,
They have, okay.
and the applications have been received.
Right.
But they got a December meeting, board meeting.
Who was the board member designated to, on this committee of hiring this lieutenant and captain? Who's the board
And
member?
Ms. Mosby is the review committee person.
Last page.
Any more questions?
Mayor, do you know why there wasn't any GED services offered in July and August? No. Yeah, September, October.
And the last part of the minutes of the meeting, on the final disposition of one employee, has anything happened on it since the 4th?
No.
Any more questions? Are we all ready to vote, or do you want to wait?
I'm ready.
Mary Ann? All right, got a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right. All right, we got, any other business? Does anybody have any other business come before the committee tonight? If y'all don't, I've got one that I'd like to bring up. I know out here, I'm not sure where, but, Rick, you probably can point me in the right direction. Right here, there's a monument that, is on the county property, and it basically is for fallen police officers memorial. I've had some, conversation with some people that would like to get permission to because for a fallen firefighter memorial here in Rutherford County, and what it would be, I personally know of 3, and there may be more that has happened in Rutherford County. I know Murfreesboro has had 2 a number of years ago. Allenville Volunteer Fire Department has had 1 a few years back, and I'm not sure if Smyrna, Laverne, or any of the volunteers have had it. That's something we probably have to find out, but I would like for us to ask permission, or a motion come from the committee to ask permission to go to the Property Management Committee to, for, that way we can raise money. I'm talking about we, I'm not talking about the county, I'm talking about some people like through the fire departments, the volunteers, the paid throughout Rutherford County to try to raise some money to put a memorial out there for the fallen firefighters of Rutherford County. And the money would be raised through donations and things like that. And that's something I'd like to see happen here in Rutherford County. And myself and some more people are going to try to raise the money to do this. And I'd like to start off and to ask permission and get permission from the county through public safety and property management and county commission to have the monument in a certain location around the square here. I'll entertain any questions anybody would like to ask.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I don't have any problem at all with it.
I'm for it.
All right.
For it.
Well, as chair, I can't make a motion. I would look for somebody to make a
motion.
For it. Snuffy Smith language.
Do that.
Okay, got a
No,
motion from Jack.
I think it's an
Is there a
excellent
second?
idea.
Second.
And a second from Rick, okay. Is there any discussion?
What do you want your motion to say? I have authorized you to address the Property Management Committee on a fallen firefighter memorial on Rutherford County property.
Right, and it would be for Rutherford County, firefighters, fallen firefighters, and that are killed in the line of duty. It's not just, if someone has to die in the line of duty to be placed on this Smith Monument Memorial.
requesting permission
Yes,
from the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners, starting with the Property Management Committee.
Right.
Well, this motion is just authorizing him to address property management.
to receive permission to,
We're just authorizing you to go,
okay,
authorizing you to address the committee on the issue of a fallen firefighter memorial on Rutherford County property.
okay. Authorize me to go get permission, okay,
Address that committee.
okay, all right. Is that all right with everybody? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries, thank you. Is there anybody else that got anything want to come before the committee tonight? We stand adjourned, thank y'all.